Hey guys, welcome to Reddit Brew. You know the drill. We're back at it again with the r/entitledpeople Reddit stories. So let's just jump into it, shall we? Entitled ex-girlfriend wants the engagement ring I never gave her because she broke up with me before I could propose. Gets arrested for her troubles. This is an old story, but I was reminded of it while watching 90 Day Fiancé because the audacity on that show is just as insane as the audacity in this story, and figured I'd share my misfortunes here with my fellow drama llamas. Anywho, a while back, I'd been dating this girl for approximately 2 years. I thought things were going great, but apparently she was just dating me because she liked the title of being in a relationship and the perks that go along with it. The way she described me was honestly not worth the rest of my life. Her exact words to a friend of hers a few days before she ghosted me. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. Prior to that, I went out and bought a ring and had this entire thing planned out to propose to her. However, she was suddenly not available for several weeks in a row. I was worried about her, so I tried getting a hold of her friend to no avail. I then called her parents, who were confused, and stated that she was not missing and that they had seen her just the previous day. It was at that moment that I realized that she was planning to break up with me and was blatantly avoiding me. Well, my fears rang true as she suddenly showed up at my place a few days later. She acted like everything was normal as we talked and was grabbing everything that was hers, as though ghosting your boyfriend for several weeks is a normal occurrence. I asked her what she was doing, and she said she was packing her things for a girls' trip. Yeah, okay, a girls' trip, sure. About halfway through, I just kind of looked at her and said, "Don't forget your hair dryer. It would be awkward to have to come back over here after you dump me." This sparked a long and awkward conversation where she started fake crying and yelling like a banshee. I had a huge revelation in that moment. The way she acted, the way she spoke, and the way she treated me just screamed that she did not care. I was devastated, but seeing her just made me angry. I had realized she was lying to me this entire time. The girl I loved and was going to propose to just avoided me for weeks, then discarded me like I was nothing. Wouldn't have even had the decency to break up with me in person if I hadn't figured out what she was up to. About a month later, a friend of hers called me up and asked if she could come over to talk. I asked why, and she stated that my ex pissed her off and she wanted to tell me some things. My mind goes to horrifying things, like she needs to warn me that I need to go see a doctor or something like that. Well, her friend, who we'll refer to as Katie, came over and we chatted for a while. Katie was beyond pissed off. Apparently my ex likes to use everybody, not just me, and had asked Katie to borrow money for bills and needs, but instead spent it on a night out at the club. When Katie asked my ex to repay her as she was trying to help her out, not fund her partying, she refused. So Katie's way to get back at my ex was to sleep with her ex-boyfriend. Being me, thinking back, this is so immature and shameful, but me being in the mental state that I was at the time, I said yes. More like, I nervously said, "Huh? Yeah, sure, yeah, we can do that if you really want to." We actually ended up hitting it off, and she ended up staying over at my house for a few days. My ex came up in convo, and I tell her about the ring and how I had planned to propose. Katie expressed how horrible she felt for me, and then had the best idea on how to get back at my ex. Let's lay down in bed together and post a pic with the ring on my finger. Yeah, I too thought that was a terrible idea, but I wanted my ex to feel how I felt. So we did just that. We immaturely yet pettily posted a picture on Instagram of us together on my bed with the engagement ring on Katie's finger. She captioned it, "So glad this didn't end up going to the wrong person." Not even 2 hours later, my ex was at my door. We posted the picture at like 11 a.m. and she was at my place by 12:40 p.m. something. Right off the bat, she tried to to grovel and act like breaking up with me was a huge mistake. She said that I was the best boyfriend she's ever had, and she was just getting scared with how serious things were getting. She said she made a terrible mistake in breaking up with me, and she wanted me back. Katie immediately had my back, and goes into a rant about how we both know that she's just manipulative, and that she probably just wants the ring for herself to go and pawn for more booger sugar money, and that neither of us would believe this sob story that she was giving. I gotta say, I'm very glad that Katie was there, cause my stupid weak ass was completely believing my ex. I reminded her of how she treated me, and that she should just go home, because she was wasting her time. Well, Katie was right, because my ex then brings up the ring, said she owned it under the law, and that rings are gifts, and I cannot take it back. In unison, Katie and I state that it was never given to her. We both looked at each other and chuckled a bit, as the absurdity of the situation was getting outrageous. My ex was getting madder and madder, and started screaming that she was owed that ring, and that she was not leaving without it. Around this time, a police officer comes up the stairs wanting to know what the trouble was. I guess we made enough of a commotion that the neighbors called the police. The female officer asked what the situation was. Everyone tried to talk at once, and the officer shut us down. She pointed to my ex, who was obviously the angriest, and asked her what the problem was. She put on her fake crying act and said that she was just trying to pick her stuff up and retrieve her engagement ring from my affair partner, Katie, who stole it from her. The officer then turned to Katie and me and asked me if that were true. I explained the situation about how my ex broke up with me weeks ago before I had the chance to propose, and that she was never actually given the ring. Throughout the conversation, another officer showed up, then a supervisor. The whole story was explained like 4 times. Katie showed the officers a text conversation between my ex and her from a few weeks ago, where my ex had stated that she had broken up with me and asked if she wanted to go out for a girls' night as single ladies. Honestly, thank God for Katie. She truly saved me in this entire situation. My ex broke and demanded I give her ring because the money from the ring would let her pay off her car. Ever see a moment where someone says something so outrageous that everyone just looks at them in utter disgust? I responded that the ring isn't expensive. I bought it secondhand off of a website. I reminded her that I'm an IT tech, so this wasn't a ring that was 10 to 12k, more like 1 to 1.5k. The anger and rage that came over her face was immediately apparent to everyone. She snapped and stepped forward and punched me in the chest and started kicking me. The officers tried to defuse the situation, but she could not be stopped, so the female officer tackled her to the ground and arrested her. The supervisor on the scene told us to go inside while they get her under control. We did, and about 10 minutes later, they came back. They wanted my statement. I told them I didn't want to press charges against her. I was a weak and naive dumbass back then, but they said that because they witnessed the assault, it had to be processed. She ended up getting a misdemeanor offense for it, and surprisingly, I thankfully never heard from her again. Man, the audacity of that ex-girlfriend. Even if OP had given her the ring, I learned from Judge Judy that engagement rings are the one legal exception to the gift rule, because in most places, it's a gift in contemplation of marriage. And since she didn't fulfill that, she would have had to give it back anyways. I wish that OP did press charges so that the punishment could have been more severe, but at least she got a misdemeanor and he never had to deal with her again. A happy ending in my books. Also, even though what Katie did, i.e. sleeping with your friend's ex as revenge, was completely wrong and immature, I can't help but kind of love her. I wonder if OP and her ever pursued anything. But anyway, that is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed this Entitled People story. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I truly appreciate when you do, and I will see you in the next Reddit story. Bye!